Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you've all been well. My name's Ishi and today I'm going to be talking about all of the books I want to read during the month of December. So my annual reading goal for this year was 50 books and right now I'm at 41. So I'm hoping to at least read 9 books this month, which I think is doable if I try really hard. I don't think I've read a lot this year and I've definitely been very spotty with how I've read. For example, I've read like a lot of books one month and like nothing for the next 2 months. So I think this month I need to stay on top of it and read, which is what I plan on doing. Getting right into it, the first book I hope to finish is Gideon the Ninth. This book had a lot of hype last year and the year before. I can't remember exactly when this book came out, but there was a lot of hype around it. I never really got around to reading it, but now I finally am going to. I have already started it a little bit. I'm only like maybe a couple pages in. I don't know a lot about it, but our main character Gideon is a necromancer and she has been raised by the nuns of the Ninth House, and the Ninth House is this house of necromancers. There are several houses in this world, so each house has its own specialty, and the Ninth House is the necromancers. The reverend daughter of the Ninth House has been summoned by the emperor to participate in this competition of sorts. If Harrow, that's the reverend daughter's name, if she succeeds, then she will be ascended into this immortal, all-powerful being, but no one can succeed without their cavalier, and Gideon is there to act as Harrow's cavalier. Without Gideon's sword, Harrow will fail, and if Harrow fails, the Ninth House will die. That is the overall premise, and I'm really excited to see how this story unfolds. Everyone has said such good things about this book, so I have high expectations. The next book I'm really excited to read is The Atlas Paradox. This book just came out. It's the sequel after The Atlas 6. The Atlas 6 was about these group of 6 magically talented people who were chosen to be part of this Alexandrian society. It's very exclusive and secretive, and they basically had to go there and live there for 2 years and compete with each other, but also work together to figure out what the whole Alexandrian society's deal is. So do all these projects and research and all of these things, and it was all very mysterious and secret society-ish. Our main character was Libby, and she had a rivalry going with this Nicholas guy, and I really loved the both of them, and they all have different powers, so not everyone can do the same things. So it was really interesting seeing how these characters interacted with each other and how their different magic interacted with each other. Something very shocking happened at the end of the last book, and I talk about it in the previous vlog if you want to watch. I am really excited to see how it unfolds in this story because I was not a fan at all. It was infuriating what happened, and I need to know how it is resolved in this book, which is why I will be reading this right away. This will probably be the first book I finish in December. I don't know if this is the last book or if there's gonna be like a third book, but I need some answers. The next book I'll be reading is She Who Became the Sun. I know absolutely nothing about this book, except for the fact that the first sentence in the blurb says, Mulan and the Song of Achilles put together. And that's all I needed to hear, but I will look up the summary for you guys. In a famine-stricken village on a dusty yellow plain, 2 children are given 2 fates. A boy, greatness. A girl, nothingness. When the Shu family's 8th-born son, Shu Chongba, is given a fate of greatness, everyone is mystified as to how it will come to pass. The fate of nothingness, received by the family's clever and capable second daughter, on the other hand, is only as expected. This story takes place in China in the 1300s, and desperate to escape her own fated death, the girl uses her brother's identity to enter a monastery as a young male novice. There, propelled by her burning desire to survive, Shu learns she is capable of doing whatever it takes, no matter how callous, to stay hidden from her fate. After her sanctuary is destroyed for supporting the rebellion against Mongol rule, Shu uses the chance to claim another future altogether, her brother's abandoned greatness. Color me intrigued. I am very interested in this and I can't wait to read it. I have seen this book everywhere. It's always like the first book you see when you walk into a bookstore. So I know it's one of those like acclaimed novels that are really widely read, so I'm really excited to read it. The next book I'll read is Realmbreaker by Victoria Aveyard. I have not heard a lot about this book, so I don't know if people have been reading it. However, I just came across it earlier today and it sounded very fascinating to me. I don't know what this book is about, so I will also be reading the summary. A strange darkness is growing in the ward. Even Coraine, an Amarat, can feel it, tucked away in her small town at the edge of the sea. Fate knocks on her door in the form of a mythical immortal and a lethal assassin who tell Coraine that she is the last of an ancient lineage with the power to save the world from destruction. Ooh. Because a man who would burn kingdoms to the ground is raising an army unlike any seen before, bent on uprooting the foundations of the world. With poison in his heart and a stolen sword in his hand, he'll break the realm itself to claim it, and only Coraine can stop him. Of course, who else would be able to possibly stop this man other than our lovely main character? It's a very cliche-sounding sort of plot, but I am trash for this kind of plot. Like ancient lineage, secret heritage, like all of that sort of stuff goes hard. I have to say. I love that sort of stuff, which is why I am really interested in this book. I have not read any of Victoria Aveyard's books before. I believe she also wrote the Red Queen series, which I have not read. And I feel like it's one of those, like, I don't know, YA teen books that everyone has read, but I really missed out on it. I don't know if this is also YA, but it sounds like it, and I'm really excited to read it. The next 3 books I'll be reading are manga, and I am very, very excited to be rereading Bleach. So this is volume 1. I don't have 2 on me right now. I have 3, but I obviously will read 2 as well. So Bleach volumes 1, 2, and 3. I was obsessed with this series back in middle school and high school, and honestly, I am still obsessed. I love Bleach so much. I could wax poetic about this series and these characters. If you don't know, this series follows this boy. His name is Ichigo, and he has a lot going on. In this world, there is the world of the living, obviously, and there is the world of the dead. And after people die, they pass on to the world of the dead. But when people have regrets or when they've lived a bad life, they are unable to move on to the next world, and they linger in the world of the living, and they become hollows, basically, because their souls are corrupted and they're unable to move on. So they become these monsters, and they start attacking people. So one day, Ichigo's family is attacked by one of these hollows, and he is saved by a Shinigami named Rukia. But during this entire process, he is also turned into a Shinigami himself. So that's honestly, like, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what Bleach is about, so I'm sorry if I'm just kind of going off for no reason, but that's what the series is about. I don't even know, like, how much the first volume covers. I feel like it's gonna be very little, and I also will be watching the anime alongside it if I can, because I heard that the new season just came out. I didn't even know that there was gonna be a new season, so I can't even explain, but I am very happy. The next book I'll read is The Lost Hero, which is the first book in the Heroes of Olympus series. This is the second series after the original Percy Jackson. I read this last year, but for the life of me, I cannot remember anything about it. Like, I swear it was a fever dream or something. But I read it. I just don't remember it. I remember vague details. Like, I remember Jason, Piper, Leo, and they meet Annabeth and go to Camp Half-Blood and don't have their memory, and Percy Jackson is missing, and all of these things, but I don't remember, like, the actual particular plot points. Thinking back on the original Percy Jackson series, I can name very specific things about the plot, specific things about the characters and the settings. Like, it's burned into my brain. I very rarely reread books because I remember things pretty well, so I'm actually quite choked about having to reread this. Anyway, that's what I'll be doing. Rereading this because my memory is leaving me, unfortunately, in my old age. The next book I want to read is A Touch of Darkness. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, which is why I was immediately interested in it. In this book, Persephone is the goddess of spring in title only. In reality, ever since she was a little girl, flowers have shriveled at her touch. After moving to New Athens, she hopes to lead an ordinary life disguised as a mortal journalist. Hades, the god of the underworld, underworld has created a gambling empire in the mortal world and is known for making impossible deals. And Persephone finds herself a part of one such deal. She must create life in the underworld or lose her freedom forever. So that's the premise. It is a Hades and Persephone retelling, so I can tell how the story is gonna go. It's kind of predictable because it's a retelling, but I am intrigued. I have not read anything by this author before either, and I don't know a lot of people who have read this book, so I'm going into it knowing nothing and not knowing if people have been liking it or not liking it and all of that sort of stuff, because I feel like a lot of the times when I read a super hyped book that I've heard lots and lots of things about, I almost have a very specific expectation for it just because so many people I know have read it and talked about it. So I have not heard anyone talk about this book, so going into this is going to be a very different experience, and I feel like it's going to be good because I won't be swayed by other people's opinions as much as I would be if it was widely read. The last book I'll be reading is Tales from the Inner City. This is a very exciting book I saw in my library and I just had to check it out. It's about the relationship between humans and animals, and it has all these cool illustrations. The majority of this book is illustrations. That's actually all text, but it has a lot of illustrations in here and just seems very interesting. Like, it's very interesting, so I am interested. This one is one of my favorite illustrations that I've seen here so far. Some of the text is almost like poemish, like it's not a story, and some are poems, some are short stories, I think, and it's just something so different than anything that I have read this year, so I'm excited to sprinkle this in along with all of the other books that I'm reading. Those are all of the books I plan on reading in December. I definitely will read 9 books because I refuse to fail my reading goal, but I don't know if I will actually end up following this TBR specifically, because sometimes I just kind of read my own thing and sometimes I just feel like mood reading and picking up random books here and there, so we'll see if I actually stick to this, but I definitely will be reading 9 books. If you're watching, please let me know some of the books you plan on reading in December and the best book that you've read so far this year, because I don't think that I have had a book that I've loved so much that it's my favorite book this year. Like, usually there has always been a book that I am more passionate about than others. For example, last year it was The Starless Sea and The Burning God, but this year nothing has really kind of affected me like that, and I'm upset about it. Anyway, my name's Ishi. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I hope your day is as wonderful as you are.